are now listening to the Fantasy Standard Podcast on Talkdown TV with P and Ryan.
Welcome to the Fantasy Standard Podcast on Talkdown TV. This is P. If you're watching, it means you're on YouTube, and we kindly ask that you drop a like and hit that subscribe button. If you're listening, it means you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audio Boom, and all other podcast platforms. We also kindly ask that you hit that follow button and leave us a review. What's up? So this time there's no tricks, nothing special. It's just me. P by myself. P by myself. It's actually pretty funny. So no Ryan, nobody from the league this week. We're supposed to have a special guest, and actually we pushed that back to next week so that we actually had the time and we're not rushed. I know that with the election being this week, I think it was important for everybody to just focus on their own lives and maybe just focus on their teams and not really have to like worry about getting on the show. So that leaves me by myself. So if you have any suggestions or any feedback as to how I did, make sure you leave a comment down below. Let me know how I did. Hit a like, or maybe drop a thumbs down. If you drop a thumbs down, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know. But I think I want to just get through this. I want to go through our league matchups, update you on where Lights Out is. But before we get into that, what I did want to talk about, and I think it was important because I mentioned it in our matchups preview last week. I think it was. I mentioned that that there was like a tropical storm coming in the Northeast. And obviously, I don't know if it affected the Northeast as much, but if you notice that some of the uglier games, most of them came out of the Northeast. When you look at the wet conditions, and it started on Thursday with that game that we watched. So if you look at the way that you build your team, right, there's variables that you probably have to change week to week, and I think weather is something that we don't really discuss. So before I get into it, and maybe actually we're gonna get into it on the other side. Let's just cue the drop.
Ladies and gentlemen, a brief moment to recap the Lights Out Fantasy Football League. Lights Out League, where you never know what Nelson will do next.
All right, so here I am. I'm left to do the 2 cents myself. So I have 2 cents. So the first one actually is preparing for weather conditions. And I think that as we're getting into the winter seasons, you start thinking about teams that have to shy away from passing when it's maybe snow on the ground. So do you have a player on an offense that you expect to maybe have or produce for you via the air, but maybe down the road they're playing in terrible weather conditions like Buffalo, for instance? You have Stephon Diggs. For sure, Buffalo's going to have one of those snow games. You think about Green Bay. Green Bay, for the most part, is extreme cold. You do get snow. You get snow there too. But again, if you have a player like A-Rod, then you know that he might be one of those players that could play through it, and it might not affect him as much. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're building your team, and I think that that's one of the things that we didn't really highlight as much. And I wanted you to know the weather conditions, because that's important. Maybe a team has a bad run defense, and it's 90-degree weather, right? So you're probably not going to want to tire your running back out by handing it off as much. So you maybe attack him in the air because the conditions call for it. Miami, for instance, you notice that teams that go from the West Coast have trouble traveling all the way to Miami and playing in that weather because they're used to conditions in terms of like the temperature lowering, right? They're playing in colder weather in some places. So things to be mindful of. The second sense, I think I want to save it for next week, but we got a lot of competition going on in the league, and I feel like we just had an incident with an IR spot And I wanted to bring it up here because that way it's kind of like an outsider's perspective as to how it's going. We had Zoom calls with a rule, and that rule, and I forgot who mentioned it, but we all decided that if you have a player with an IR designation, he can stay in your IR position as long as the player has that designation, right? So if he's out, you can put him in your IR. If he's on injured reserve, you can put him there. PUP, same. So that type of status. Now, when the player came off, we said that we would that you would have to put him on your bench as soon as that designation came off before your game started. So you had up until your game started to make that move. Now, what the issue here was that I think someone mentioned, well, we should force the person to drop that player if they don't when the game starts. And we had that incident. We almost had it with two different teams. The only thing is that the second team, they played later. So that was Mike with Goddard. It seemed like. So um, it looked like, the player in question is Tevin Coleman, right? He's active. It looks like he's going to play. And it looks like he's going to play, and John left him in his IR spot. His game started. So there was no penalty from Yahoo in terms of like what he did on the Yahoo end, but it was already pre-agreed upon that the penalty would be that you would drop a player. John felt like he should have gotten a warning. And then there are people, including myself, who said that, we agreed to the rules. And if anything, I felt like this rule came from John. I could be mistaken, but I felt like it came from him. So I think it's super important heading into next year for us to maybe reaffirm that everyone is grounded in what the rules are. I think because we don't want this, right? You don't want to be, you don't want to feel like you're being quick to act or not being lenient. Like you want some sort of leniency, but then at what point does it end, right? Like I think if we all agree to rules and it's not like it's just one person that hurt. It's most of the people on that call. So if we decide on a punishment because you plead ignorance, and dude, 100%, it might totally be that, right? Like, oh shit, I forgot we agreed to that. Like, totally innocent. I didn't mean to like hoard a player, right? Like, totally innocent. I feel that, but you still violated it, right? Like, you can run a stop sign and apologize to the cop, but the cop still has to give you the ticket. Maybe that's the way to cap it. So on that note, let's just get right into the matchups, because I want to talk to you all about how I put up a robust 46 points last week against my guy Boris Johnson, who he schooled me. Fish and chips, all that stuff over there going on. His matchup player, I think Tyreek Hill. If you look at Tyreek Hill's performance with 21 points, 2 reception touchdowns, and the way that the Chiefs were just, oh my God, they're clicking and they're gonna start getting it. It's gonna look even scarier over there, because the defense has been kind of holding them down in terms of like they've been doing well for them. Adam Thielen, you know what? If you win and you have a bad game from Thielen, it's good because the law of averages is that he's going to win you a game down the road. So that's good. Todd Gurley, you're a little scared of the wishy-washy with his usage. I don't know of a better term to put it other than wishy-washy, but if you watch the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like him missing for a whole quarter and then coming in and playing an entire drive, right? Like through the touchdown, not even coming out. So something to know again. I think that I think Shooter's position himself in he's starting to build a little more depth than maybe he had earlier in the year. And again, I think it's maybe understanding his team a little bit more. I really like the way his team is put together for the stretch run. Myles Gaskin, that injury is going to hurt going forward, and we'll talk about that coming up. You had to stack the wide receivers from Minnesota against Green Bay. They didn't do much, but against my team, I mean, come on. I made a move. I traded Mike Evans and Josh Jacobs for DeAndre Hopkins and David Johnson. So knowing that they're on a bye, being that I felt like maybe I had a win not to play with, but that if I lost it, it doesn't hurt as much because of where we are in the season and where I am in the standings. And especially considering the points total I had. So I did take a hit, but I'm still in relatively good shape. Sometimes you have these weeks and there's nothing you can do. Sometimes you plug all the right players and all the right players and they don't do anything. All the wrong players and bam, they all boom. Sometimes it's unexplainable. Remember, there is a luck factor to this, but skill. How much skill can you add to it? Apart from this, nothing else to talk about this matchup, man. GG's to you, my brother. I really like it. And we kind of trolled a little bit on the names. I tried, bro. I really tried to put up some points, but 46 is all I had for you, man. We're going to go to the next matchup, and that was HHM. And they're now Silky Johnson. So that was Last Dance, I believe. And this one, again, you got the tandem of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, each of them like kind of matching each other in points. If you're going to get quarterback points from Devontae Adams, then no matter what, like every time you play HHM, you're afraid of like an automatic at least 50 coming from those two. And that's scary when you're talking about ratios and the amount of points you're supposed to get as your floor. You see Kamara, you love the work he's getting. Julio, I mean, what can you say about Julio? It looks like he looks healthy. I mean, you really like his usage. Matt Ryan's gonna throw it to him. Kareem Hunt, 7 points in a bad game against Las Vegas. Maybe you hope that he puts up more points than that, but still, if that's a bad game from him, I'll take it. I've had I've had zeros, so that's not bad at all. I mean, when you can put up a 131. Light work. On what do we got here on Keith's side? Keith, what I got to say about you, man? I mean, we have Baker here starting. Baker with 7 points. You don't like that. You don't expect that, right? I mean, you expect them to be able to pass against Las Vegas and make that a high scoring game. It was a field goal fest, and Parkey missed the field goal. That doesn't help. Keenan with Herbert, obviously, you got yourself maybe a borderline wide receiver one now with Keenan and the quarterback there. DJ Moore probably had his worst week. You maybe expect a few more of these sprinkled in, but even 5 points, you take it because there's some busts that give you on the one side, two side, like T.Y. Hilton. You don't want DJ Moore to be quite on that level. You feel like DJ Moore volume-wise gets enough looks that you think that maybe he'll boom more than he busts this year. Another thing to note is Bridgewater healthy, man? Because apparently that neck is still bothering him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you expect to see more of a split, 3 points. You don't like that against the Jets. You feel like he should have scored more, but it was a Mahomes fest on this one. Hasty, you already know how I feel about Hasty. Deontay Johnson, I think it's safe to say, everyone agree with me. Maybe put a thumbs up in the comment section below right now if you agree with me. Deontay Johnson, I think we can label him injury prone at this point, because he is talented, right? But I mean, can we keep you on the field? So you feel for him because you really know that he's a talented player, and then Ben likes him, but you don't know. A lot of news coming out of the Green Bay backfield, but I think I'll wait until we do the matchup. The next recap is Average as Fuck beating Suicide Squad in a close one. You see that Joe Burrow, Robert Woods, steady 21 points. That looks really good. Mike Evans, who he just traded for, 11 points, steady, really nice. Touchdown, 55 yards. You take it from Mike Evans. The touchdown upside is what you really wait for Evans. So you really the acquisition, I get it, right? Because you get the floor from Woods every week. With Josh Jacobs, I mean, what could you say? I love Josh Jacobs. I think I made the move because I wanted my team to look a certain way, not because I didn't feel like Josh Jacobs wasn't a good player. 12 points against a tough Cleveland defense. I mean, 31 carries. You love the volume. And Leonard Fournette, it looks like he's going to take over that job. And Rojo fumbling doesn't help. Noah Fant, I think as his ankle starts getting healthier, maybe Tim Patrick comes back to kind of like put a little more attention on the outside. The thing about Drew Lock is that he loves the seams. So that's why me personally, I had Albert O, because that's his college guy, obviously, but he just loves the seams. So you have Noah Fant for the most part. You feel good about your tight end. Um, uh, Latavius Murray, I love the fact that you have him. You know that you play him every week. I'll never like fault you for it, because you know what his upside could be. So I like that you sprinkle him in your flex, man. That shows fearlessness. On the Suicide Squad side, you know, again, tough matchup with Big Ben against Baltimore. Tyler Boyd did everything he can. Ayuk, again, 15 points. Ayuk is the real deal. Another thing, another update later on. David Montgomery, um, again, volume wise, because of his touches, he's gonna be good. I think that Montgomery and David Johnson are kind of like a spitting image of each other in a way, because their floor and ceilings are almost on the same path. Ronald Jones, man, that coach is playing with all of your fantasy hearts, man. I'm telling you, and that's why, although Rojo gave you some good weeks, I had to get rid of him, because the coach just like, one week the job is Rojo's, the next week now it's Fournette's, and Rojo didn't help himself with a fumble. So what are you gonna get? I like Fournette a little bit more going forward. Hawkinson, solid. Man, honestly, at this point you start wondering if it's a little, if it's too late for Suicide Squad, and it's unfortunate, man. So you have to see how the numbers shake out, because mathematically I think you're still in it. On to the next hashtag. On to the next. Or boy Will or Kanye Shrugs got walloped by almost 100 points by dead presidents. Herbert as his bye-week replacement quarterback. You love that, right? Coming off your bench. AJ Brown, steady Eddie. If 8 points in your down week is what you're gonna get, you take that. It was Metcalf week in Seattle apparently, so 28 points. It was Dalvin Cook. That's the story of this matchup. 46 points coming back. You think that they're gonna work him in slowly turned into 3 rushing touchdowns, 163 rushing yards, and 63 receiving yards. I mean, that's like a season for some people. But and Gus the Bus, you plug him in as your RB2 because you got a bye week, and 14 points, very steady. You like Gus the Bus if they're gonna use him that way. 87 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown. George Kittle on the IR, man. That's a big blow for dead presidents, because the team now doesn't, lengthwise, it doesn't look as good. I mean, it's still a great team, right? Is it still on the top tier? We had tiers in this league, but you know, you tier them, and you are where you are because of the length in your lineup, and you kind of just chop a key piece that adds length off of your team. So Higgins had a little injury scare, but back. You love the volume again in that passing offense. It looks like he has eyes for Higgins. It looks like he's in love with him. Last week, probably Mike Davis. On to the next. Now you have to make your run. It's not on to the next. You still have a chance in this one. I've seen it. I've seen people in the past. I think our commission's done that, where he's been like 6 games under 500, and he's made a run that no one expects to go to the playoffs. So you're getting your best player. He's like another quarterback. It's not over for you. Remember what you were doing when he was healthy. So think about that before you think about on to the next. The next one is Let's Go against Dismantlegate, my boy, my co-host Ryan. So it was 89 to 110. I think that at some point maybe there was concern, but Russell Wilson playing, that kind of throws a little a little water over the fire. Is 4 passing touchdowns for Russ, 261 passing yards, 23 rushing yards. I mean, you get 36 points and bam, right away you feel good. He had 2 zeros in his lineup. Kenny Golladay went down with an injury, and he picked up Aguilar because he was the chic pick, right? Like, that's the player that you pick up because he's chemistry, Cleveland exploitable matchup, and bam, he puts up a 0. That's fantasy. That's what happens. J.K. Dobbins. I mean, Aaron Jones can't play. You can plug in a J.K. Dobbins and bang for your buck, right? 113 rushing yards, 8 receiving yards on minimal touches, right? So that's what Dobbins does. Even as I think he's a flex going forward at least. Derrick Henry. I mean, what can you say? The guy's matchup proof. 17 points. What else can you say? 112 yards and a touchdown. Mark Andrews, floor week. Next week, maybe boom week. But that's how he plays. There is no middle ground with Andrews, mostly, and that's how historically how he's been. Allen Robinson, free Allen Robinson. You feel bad for the guy, 87 yards, and I think all of them are hard fought because he has to literally do a lot of. No one works harder to get a catch than Allen Robinson in the league. I think receiving touchdown, you like that. Harrison Butker, maybe you don't feel as good about drafting Harrison Butker as you did when you started the year. You hope that maybe as the team is putting it together, that maybe there are more points or more field goal opportunities in the future. Philly D, very nice. And I know that he has his defense stacked up for the rest of the year. You look at Chase Claypool. I think it was steady. I mean, Mahomes with 46 points, you knew, again, when we did the recap in the beginning of the year, we said that Mahomes was going to be the Randy ratio, right? So, but he needs Michael Thomas to help complete that, to fill out the rest of this cast. Le'Veon Bell, uptick in usage, little by little. You'll see it come up. Devin Singletary, I think he had 80 yards, Moss had 80 yards. So you love that usage. If Buffalo's going to do that, if that's the model that they're going to start breaking out for some of these tougher games, you like the way they did it, especially with Allen taking a backseat in the rushing. You don't want him getting hurt. Run when you have to, and not all the time. And you have, Chicago's defense against New Orleans. You don't know why you played him, but let's go. I mean, with him, you don't even know. 1-7 at this point. I think his team name is Let's Go. I think he's been gone for a while. Maybe adjustments for next year. Hopefully you play it out the rest of the year. Maybe not starting this week because you play me. Last matchup is the whole show. Put a wax in on UAA. 102-56. Both still very much in a playoff hunt. You got Brady with a steady 23. Darrell Henderson, I think, it's just Harrison Bryant with a fumble. Just your typical like floor week. Maybe, I just look at the running backs on Nelson's side and I'm like, let me see. Did he have any? I'm trying to, maybe McKinnon. Wow. Yeah. On the whole show, you had Matt Ryan playing on the bye week for Deshaun. Yeah, Kupp, man. How many targets did Kupp have? Yeah, you have 110 yards and on 21 targets, dude. Like, it's either that's great or that's like horrible, right? Like, so there's something off about that number. You feel like either you should have more catches, or you like catching 6-yard dump offs. Like Cooper Kupp has been a very disappointing player this year. Calvin Ridley with the injury. What does that look like for this week? Another person dealing with injury is Taylor. So what does that look like for this week? Kelsey, man, that looks good. Bernard, a steady pickup for a bye week replacement type of piece. 19 points in your flex. That looks really good. Pittsburgh's defense is a very fantasy viable defense. So that's definitely making up for some maybe future deficiencies because of maybe injuries or something like that. But let's go to the standings. And the standings are, we have Dead Prez first place at 8-0, and second place, the whole show at 5-3. Third place, HHM at 5-3. Fourth place, Dismantlegate at 5-3. Fifth place, Poe Biden at 5-3. Sixth place, Boris Johnson at 5-3. Seventh place, Average as Fuck at 4-4. Eighth place, Silky Johnson, 4-4. Ninth place, Your Abuela's Attorney, 3-5. 10th place, On to the Next, 2-6. Suicide Squad, 1-7. Let's Go, bringing in the rear at 1-7. One thing I wanted to mention here is that there are two teams that are 4-4. 5 teams that are 5-3. 1 3-5 team, and 1 2-6 team. Now, when I was mentioning to Will that it's not on to the next, it's on to the next game, right? Like, that should be you should have that Bill Belichick mentality. It's on to the next week. And the only week that matters is the one that you're on right now. This is your playoffs. So every move you don't really worry about setting up your schedule for next week, because you have to focus on this one right here. You're in playoff mode. UAA's got one more loss to maybe get into that. But considering how close the middle pack teams are, and considering that there's still 5 playoff spots left, you are still very much in the running. So keep that in mind. Keep the heads up, guys, and remember that if you feel like you're eliminated, at least you might be playing. Completely switch up your strategy and play for next year. Switch things up. Look at players different. Pick up teams different. Make different moves that you wouldn't make normally to see if maybe that's stuff that you could readjust and recalibrate for next year and bring on to your next season. But just don't give up on a season, please, for the sake of all of us that are fighting selfishly. But integrity, right? Integrity of the league. Let's go over to the matchups for next week, and I'll just breeze through them because again, it's more fun when you hear someone else's perspective. I'm gonna just blab on about the same thing pretty much, but I have myself, Ho Biden, who's facing Let's Go at 1-7. Again, one of those teams that I said, let's go. You got to start making a move. This might be the week he beats me. Michael Thomas is coming back healthy. Gordon, healthy. Share playing Atlanta. They're tougher against the running backs, so maybe not there. But Detroit, Jones stepping in as the number 1 receiver because Galladay is hurt with the hip. So now he's probably going to get more work. Chicago, Tennessee is kind of friendly with defenses in terms of maybe turnovers and things like that. So something to note. And Mahomes against Carolina, it has been tough against quarterbacks. So that's maybe one matchup that I kind of feel a little bit better about in terms of keeping Mahomes relatively on some sort of like a 30-point floor. For me, Lamar, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have much confidence in him, but I think his floor is better than anything that I could like try to hit as a lotto on the waiver wire. I could try, and I'm pretty sure I can hit like a 25 point guy, right? Like 25 point guy. But Lamar gives me a good floor. Rushing yards, I feel like I can kind of use him almost as like a complement to my deficiency in my RB2. So being that my wide receivers are stronger, I made the move for Hopkins. So now I have Lockett and Hopkins there, which I feel better about. David Johnson is my RB1, whatever. I get Mostert later. He slides in, and then Johnson's an RB2, and that looks better, right? So it stretches things out. I'm going to go with a wide receiver or flex by committee. So I'm basically going to play it by matchup. Right now, it's Tim Patrick. It might be someone else later. In this matchup, I'm going to pick myself because I feel like if I can keep Mahomes relatively low. Thomas, tough matchup, but division game. So you'd have to look at the history between Thomas and Tampa. But that's the ratio. If I can keep the ratio at bay, I feel good about my team collectively being able to put me over the top. Let's go over to the next matchup, and that is HHM and the whole show. This is a pretty dope matchup. Okay, this is the a rematch from last year's championship. Yes, amazing. So this to me, game of the week. I could look at the other matchups and I think that they'll be good candidates, but I see that this could be the game of the week only because of the narrative. Period. Super Bowl rematch. The whole show won last year, or a fantasy championship. I don't know what you want to call it. We have Watson and Rodgers, maybe a wash there. Watson's playing Jax, so maybe more points there. Devontae Adams, you love the stack. Will Fuller, you love the stack. Julio against Hardman. I know why you're going with Hardman, right? Like you're gonna try to go with the home run there. You have to, right? Especially losing Taylor. So you have Kamara, stunning, and then Zeke, man. He's playing Pittsburgh, so it's going to be a tough matchup with a rookie quarterback. Man, it might be a long day. So you hope that Zeke gets involved in a passing game. Kelsey, you hope that you can make up some points with Kelsey playing Carolina. That seems like it's a little more of an exploitable matchup than the Hardman play. DJ Dallas, I love DJ Dallas. Buffalo, what Buffalo team are you playing? Matt Milano, is he playing? There's a lot of things to factor in when you think of their run defense. Zach Moss, HHM, I've told you, that's one of your best draft picks personally because of this part of the season. And we're going to see the type of running back a Moss is. and the value that he'll bring to a Buffalo team that's going to try to maybe not be so pass heavy, focus a little bit more on the run, add that as a complement to Josh Allen, maybe control the ground a little bit, keep your defense off the field. Jared Cook has been steady, man. You plug him in until he disappoints, and he hasn't so far. So why start now? Tampa traditionally has been bad against tight ends. Maybe not now with David there at linebacker, but you still like him. Lutz, steady kicker. Houston, I saw that pickup. I was actually going to pick them up because Jacksonville, if no one knows or anyone lives under a rock, is going to start a rookie quarterback over Minshew Mania because there's an injury there. So on this one, I'm gonna take HHM only because I feel like HHM right now is booming. Like the business is booming right now. And another thing to note, and that flex is open, and I think I know. Speaking of business is booming, I think I know who's gonna go in there. Right now, HHM is booming. I'm just gonna kind of ride that wave right now, and I feel like he's gonna win this one. The next matchup is average as fuck against Silky Johnson. Another good matchup. I think there's a lot of good matchups here. We got Nick Foles against Cam Newton. Cam Newton has been disappointing. Wrights, why did they get a Monday night game? My God, disappointing. Can they flex that into never? Yo, we need to flex that into like never. We got Mike Evans, Keenan Allen. Feel like you kind of take. Oh, well, Mike Evans playing New Orleans. Man, it's just a lot of receivers. So if AB plays, you just want to see what the usage is because if Godwin's already going to try to catch passes. So if Godwin plays also, Godwin plays, it already muddies the water for Evans. Imagine if AB plays. That's my thinking. Or maybe the other guys create an opening for Evans down the field. We'll have to see. Deontay Johnson's healthy, guys. That's news, right? Like that's big news. So he's in there. 100% agree against Dallas. That's an amazing play to me. Chase Edmonds is free against Miami. That's a smash spot. I really like that matchup. Gibson, I see that average. I see the way they're using him, and I feel like Gibson's turned into almost like a David Johnson, but with athleticism at this point in speed, right? He does everything, and I feel like he has a really safe floor for the rest of the year. Hayden Hurst, you plug him in because of the volume passing game there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a flex play is actually a pretty dope spot to have him in. So looks pretty good there. On Pooty's side, John Brown against Seattle. I love that. You got Jacobs. I think this could be a Jacobs game right here. This is why you would trade for Josh Jacobs. I feel like the division game, this could be an exploitable matchup for the Raiders. So be on the lookout for a Jacobs maybe smash spot game on this one. Even if the Chargers defense looks all right, I just feel like the sheer volume and will that they impose, like in terms of like putting the ball in Jacobs' hand, 31 last week. He's coming off. He's not running yards per carry wise. He's not impressing you, but the volume does. And you know that a player with his talent and still with his elusiveness eventually is going to turn it around. So I like the matchup, especially because of the division game. Noah Fant against Atlanta. I mean, that's a really good matchup for him. Leonard Fournette, it looks like his usage is now he's the guy, right? Maybe he has the trust, and I already know that they trust him on third downs because Ronald Jones couldn't catch a cold. So Baltimore against Indy, that should be a tough defensive matchup. This is a tough one to call, man. I think that because of I don't see who you have. Quarterbacks are kind of a push because Tennessee's pass defense has been kind of brutal. Man, I'm gonna give this matchup to Keith. I'm gonna give this matchup to Keith. I feel like the running back stack, I like it a little bit more. I like it a little bit more. I'm not sure what that RB2 is, where you're going with it. But you're almost there, dude. I like your team. I like what you're doing. Fearless, right? Like play the matchup if you have the matchup, right? Like Nick Foles isn't popular, but if you have it, play it. We'll see what happens. On to the next against Suicide Squad. So we have right now we have Derek Carr against Big Ben. Big Ben's playing Dallas, so you can expect maybe some touchdowns there. But maybe not a competitive game. How much will Dallas actually punch back? That's the thing. So will Big Ben be capped? But you'll still take it. Mike Williams, you love what you see. I really like Mike Williams. Even before the bye week, that's when I feel like he started hitting his stride with Herbert. Herbert's like, well, I could just throw it up to this guy and he'll just catch it. Yo, because Mike, the way he plays, maybe you don't feel like he'll last the year, but Mike Williams is he's gonna be up there. I would say it'll be like a top 30 wide receiver when it's all said and done if he can stay on the field. Um, uh, let's see. Mike Davis, we mentioned, is going to be he's going to get his boy back now. So McCaffrey, you're going to get him back. Cole Beasley against Seattle, smart play. I love it. McLaurin, who was just named team captain, really nice. Congratulations to McLaurin against the Giants. Connor, who I think there's not a person on this league who wouldn't want Connor on their team. Darren Waller, steady as they come. Justin Jackson, very nice against Las Vegas, exploitable matchup. Montgomery, Cooper, man, you hate what's happened to those Dallas receivers. All of them are talented, but you just don't know. DiNucci, I mean, Dalton, even with Dalton is there, you don't even feel good. At least maybe Gallup and Cooper you feel decent about. Robinson, division game, you should be able to run on Houston, so you like that matchup. On this one, it's going to be a close one. I think this one all boils down to if McCaffrey plays for Will, that could be his quarterback. Carr could keep it relatively close. I think that Will's running backs probably have more of that 20-point potential, whereas Suicide Squad more has like the teens potential with his running backs. And I'm going to go over to Will on this matchup. The next matchup we have on the slate is Boris Johnson, who's coming off a 5-game win streak, including just whooping my ass. Is just not on the biggest blowout because somebody else got their ass whooped on by this guy, actually, Dead Prez, who's been the league leader 8-0. Is this the week that he goes down? I think that we ask that every week, right? Like we're on the watch. So Boris Johnson, shooter, he's tough, man. He's been tough this year. Lately, I think that he's reconfigured his team. He's been aggressive in making moves, pickups. He's playing smart. It looks like he's not really like, look, Thielen and Jefferson, he's playing both of them. That's like the fearlessness that you kind of have to have, because you know what? The logic is that I don't want to play two players on the same team, right? But if they're productive players, someone else is going to start that player and probably benefit. So why not you, right? Like, so we need to start thinking about things like this and kind of remove those like unwritten rules and create your own. Let's go. Start thinking for yourself. AJ Brown, again, I heart AJ Brown. His receivers, I mean, and then Dalvin Cook, man, this is like, that's the story of the game right here. Which Dalvin are you going to get? Are you going to get Dalvin that's going to try to be a quarterback this week? And he does that almost every week, because to me, the Dalvin and Tyreek Hill matchup is like the key matchup in this game. And then when you start pairing up matchups, right? When you start going home run, right? Like you feel like you can give AJ Brown an edge over Jefferson in terms of his boom. And then you're going to give Thielen and Metcalf maybe a push in terms of that matchup, because Metcalf is going up against Trey White. So this could be a tougher game for him. He's a physical specimen, so you expect him to still produce. Harris against the Jets. It looks like New England is going to try this full-out running approach. They're punting, to be honest. I don't even think they want to compete for this year. Gronk has been steady, man. That was a good pickup. Indy defense, really good pickup too, going against Baltimore. Still, it's going to be a good matchup. And Lamar, the way he looks, man, he's a turnover machine right now. Gurley, decent matchup, and then you got Lindsey. So you pretty much, your running backs, you're watching one game closely. I don't know. Again, I'm not hating London. I feel like for the mojo of the league, I need to pick against you, right? Like, I need to pick against you because we need to keep you close. We don't want you running away. For the by the way, could you let us know what your record is in the league? Because I think you're undefeated in that one too. So let us know either in the chat or below in the comment section what your record is in the other league, man. Because it's amazing that you're undefeated in both, man. No, but on that note, let's just move on to the last matchup of the week. And we have UAA and Dismantlegate, which is crazy that this matchup is happening. Josh Allen versus Russell Wilson. You got Stephon Diggs. Judy. Okay. And then we have Robbie Anderson, who's lately been a little disappointing. So is this game against KC the one that maybe you see Robbie bouncing back? Maybe because KC will be up on Carolina. Who knows? Allen Robinson, you already know what he's going to do to that Tennessee secondary. Unless, look, Tennessee's made some changes to the team. It looks like they let some players go. So be on the lookout. What does that mean? Does that mean the defense gets worse or better? Dobbins against Indy. I like that play. I see why you're doing it. Aaron Jones Thursday. I'm not sure because of COVID now if Aaron Jones is going to play, or was he even on the list? Let's see what they're saying. Okay, so they're pessimistic that he'll be ready for Thursday night's game. So this is probably the last game where Aaron Jones doesn't play for you. 5-3, you love that because you know that your stack of running backs, you can pretty much stack them up against anyone. So it looks good there. You lose Galladay, but you have Judy going against Atlanta. That's really nice. McKinnon looks like they're starting. He's starting, but I mean, the Niners are such a mess. They're with their backup quarterback. They're on like their third tight end or second tight end. They lost their left tackle due to COVID. There's gonna be this might not be a good week for the Niners. Or the one thing is the Thursday night, the spotlight game. Sometimes teams play a little out of their minds, so maybe they'll overachieve. Carlos Hyde, out. So you don't know if he leaves him in the lineup. Then we got Evan Ingram. Rex Burkhead in the flex. I know why. Against the Jets, maybe you're up and New England's running, and Burkhead, they like to use him in the red zone a lot, especially when they get inside the 10. He's there a lot. So you see why they use him. On this one, I'm not gonna get cute, man. I'm gonna pick Dismantlegate to beat UAA. I'm not gonna say it's a blowout, but I just can't really see the rest of the team because Hyde is in there, right? So for right now, maybe it looks like it. Let me see. For right now, it has the makings of a blowout. Bold predictions. That's what you're gonna get here at the Fantasy Standard. Anyway, that's it. Let us know in the comment section below if you agree with our picks. Also, email us at thefantasystandardtfs@gmail.com if you agree with these picks, if you've been following at home, if you feel like you know any of the guys, if you have any guy in the show or in our league that you want me to put on the show, let me know. Email us or the comment section below, or hit us up on our social media accounts. Our social media account handles are right under our screens on all of our episodes. Make sure you go back and go to our Talk Down TV channel, subscribe to it, because we have more content too. We have One Long Talk, and we have more programs that we're going to start unveiling, especially maybe sports-centric shows. But for right now, we have the Fantasy Standard. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Dude, I don't know what I'm doing, right? Like, this is just me staring blind. I try not to leave any dead air for you guys, so if you're driving or anything like that, you don't get bored. But good luck to all my boys out here, except Let's Go, who I'm playing. I appreciate y'all for joining me, man. Next week, I got 2 special guests. I did want to mention that the music that you're hearing on our Lights Out episodes, right? Our episodes are powered by Infamy. Check them out, a.infamy, at a.infamy on social media. One of the dopest producers. So the music that you're hearing in the background for these Lights Out episodes, they're all from our guy Infamy, and we appreciate that. On that note, Rye, I'll check you out, brother. See you soon, probably on next episode, actually. Yeah, tune in to the next episode, which is the NFL picks and the fantasy matchups. Make sure you check that out as well. Ryan will join me for that. I'll check you guys out next week. Peace.